Dear students, today's topic of my lecture, Coulomb's law, superposition principle and continuous charge distribution. So first we start Coulomb's law. For explaining the Coulomb's law, first you understand that this law acts between the 2-point charges or more than 2-point charges. Here the point charges which we are taking, they may be positive charges or negative charges, or one is positive, another one is negative. It means there is a force of attraction or repulsion between these two charges may take place. Now we define the Coulomb's law. According to this law, mutual electrostatic force of interaction between 2-point charges Q1 Q2 is directly proportional to the product of magnitude of charges, that is Q1 Q2, and inversely proportional to the square of distance separating them. So here you see that we are taking 2-point charges, say Q1 and Q2, separated by distance small r. So mathematically how we can write, as per definition of the Coulomb's law, F is directly proportional to the product of magnitude of charges, that is F directly proportional to Q1 Q2 and inversely proportional to the square of distance between them, that is F inversely proportional to the r square. When we combine these two equations, then what we will get? F directly proportional to Q1 Q2 upon r square. For omitting this proportionality sign, we require a constant, and that constant is represented by small k. This small k is called electrostatic force constant, and its value depends on nature of medium in which the 2-point charges are located or placed, and also on the system of units. So in CGS system of unit, the value of k is equal to 1, whereas in case of SI system, the value of the k is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, where this epsilon naught is called absolute electrical permittivity in free space or vacuum. You just remember here, this electrical permittivity, basically the property of the medium in which the 2-point charges are placed. If the medium changes, then the force acting between 2-point charges will also get changed. Here the medium is taken free space or vacuum, that's why its value is 8.85 into 10 raised power minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton meter square. Now when you substitute this value of k, that is k equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, then for the numerical purpose you calculate this value so that directly we can put this value while solving the numerical. So here you substitute the value of the pi 3.14 and the epsilon naught value, that is 8.85 into 10 raised power minus 12. Then you solve it, and then you will get its value is 9 into 10 raised to power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. So this value you just remember it, so that directly you can put in formula for solving numerical. Now this force can be written as in the vector form, that is F equal to K Q1 Q2 upon R square, then R cap. R cap is the unit vector which we generally use for defining the direction. So here R cap gives the direction of the force F vector. Now the Coulomb's law in the vector form. Here we take two conditions. One condition is when the product of charges Q1 Q2 greater than 0. Remember it, here the medium between the 2 point charges remains vacuum. So when the condition is the product of magnitude of 2 point charges is greater than 0, it means both the charges are positive, or you can say both the charges are negative. So here we have taken both the charges positive, one is Q1, another one is Q2, and they are separated by a distance r. Now we have to find out the force acting on charge Q1 due to Q2, similarly the force acting on charge Q2 due to Q1. So how we can write the force acting on charge Q1 due to Q2, and that you see here, this is the representation of force on charge Q1 due to Q2. So F vector 1 2 is the representation of force acting on charge Q1 due to Q2. Similarly F21 vector is representing force on charge Q2 due to Q1. Since both the charges are positive, so repulsive force takes place between them. So that's why you see that these arrows are away from each other. Now how you calculate the force acting on it? Simple, we have to apply the Coulomb's law. So force acting on charge Q1 due to Q2 equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square, and the direction is from charge Q2 to Q1, which is represented by R21 cap. Similarly, the force acting on charge Q2 due to Q1, which is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square, and the direction is from charge Q1 to Q2. So that's why it is represented by R12 cap. Since R12 cap is equal to minus R21 cap, then from equation 3 and 4, the relation between the forces we get, that is F12 vector equal to minus F21 vector. So from this relation we conclude that Coulomb's law agreed with Newton's third law. Similarly, we take another condition, and the medium between the 2 point charges remains the same. So another condition is that when product of 2 point charges, that is Q1 Q2 less than 0, it means one charge is positive and another one is negative. So here we are taking Q1 is positive and Q2 is negative, separated by a distance small r. Again we will find out the force acting on charge Q1 and Q2. Since these charges are positive and negative, so attractive force will take place. So that's why they will attract to each other. So these arrows are towards each other. Now the force on charge Q1 due to Q2, which is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square, R12 cap, that gives the direction. Similarly, F21 vector equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square R21 cap. Again, from these two equations, what we will get? F12 vector equal to minus F21 vector. So again we can say that in both the cases Coulomb's law agreed with Newton's third law. Now another topic, very important topic, relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant. So first of all, you understand the meaning of what is electrical permittivity. Electrical permittivity is the property of a medium and that affect the magnitude of force between the 2 point charges. As I already explained, then if the medium between the point charges changes, then the force between them also changes, and that is because of the property of the medium, which is known as electrical permittivity. Now you understand like that. Now we consider the 2 point charges, say Q1 and Q2, separated by some distance, say R, in a medium whose electrical permittivity is represented by epsilon. Then we find out the force between these 2 point charges according to the Coulomb's law. F equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 upon R square, and that you mark equation 1. Now we place same 2 point charges at the same distance in vacuum or in free space and find the force acting between them, and that will be F naught equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square, and that we mark as equation 2. Now divide the equation 2 by equation 1, then what you will get? Q1 Q2 upon R square get cancelled, 4 pi also get cancelled, and finally the relation you will get F naught upon F equal to epsilon upon epsilon naught, and this ratio is known as relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant, which is represented by epsilon R or capital K. Thus we can define relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant in terms of electrical permittivity and in terms of force. So first, in terms of electrical permittivity, that it is defined as the ratio of electrical permittivity in medium to the electrical permittivity in vacuum, that is epsilon upon epsilon naught. Or in terms of the force, it is defined as the ratio of force between two charges separated by a certain distance in air or vacuum to the force between the same two charges separated by the same distance in the medium, that is F naught upon F. And as we say that it is the property of medium, so that's why relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant, that depends on the nature of medium in which charges are placed or located. Now you remember some values of the medium where the value of relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant. For example, for vacuum or free space, epsilon R or capital K, that is equal to 1. Whereas in case of air, its value is 1.006. Now here I just want to tell you the one important thing. Whenever you solve the numericals, and in numericals if it is written that 2-point charges are placed in vacuum or free space or in air, then in all the three cases you have to take the value of K or epsilon r equal to 1. In case of glass, its value varies from 3 to 4 because of the different kind of glasses. Similarly, for mica, its value varies from 3 to 6, and for water, its value is 81. You remember this one. And for metals, its value is infinite. You remember these two value also, because in CBSE in previous years they asked in 1 marks question what is the value of water, and in case of metal of relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant. Now you understand how the force between the 2-point charges gets changed or affected when the medium between the 2-point charges is changed. For that purpose, we take an example that you already know, the formula for relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant. I just remind you, this is F naught upon F equal to epsilon upon epsilon naught, which is equal to epsilon r or capital K. Now if we take a medium water, so in case of the water, the value of relative electrical permittivity or dielectric constant is 81. So you substitute here 81, then the formula becomes F naught upon Fw equal to 81. Fw is the force in medium water between the 2-point charges. Then rearrange it and then you will get Fw equal to F naught upon 81. It means the force between the 2-point charges in water is equal to 1 upon 81 times the force between the same 2-point charges placed at the same distance in vacuum. So from here we conclude that if the medium between the 2-point charges changes, then the force between them is also changes. Now units of charge. In SI system, the unit of charge is coulomb, that you have already studied in class 10. Now sometimes in your CBSE they ask the definition of 1 coulomb. So 1 coulomb definition we will explain with the help of the Coulomb's formula, that is F naught equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R square. If we say that Q1 equal to Q2 equal to 1 coulomb and small r equal to 1 meter, then you substitute these value in this equation. So this value I have already calculated, 9 into 10 to the power 9, and Q1 is 1 coulomb, so 1, Q2 is 1 coulomb into 1 divided by 1 square. So what you will get after the calculation, you will get F equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton. So from here we can define easily 1 coulomb charge is that charge which when placed at 1 meter distance from an equal and similar charge in vacuum, then it would experience electrical repulsive force of magnitude 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton. So this is the definition of the 1 coulomb. Now in CGS system of unit, the unit of charge is stat coulomb. Now we are going to find out the relation between Coulomb and stat Coulomb. So in SI system, charge on an electron is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 Coulomb, and in CGS system, charge on electron is 4.8 into 10 to the power minus 10 stat Coulomb. So 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 Coulomb must be equal to 4.8 into 10 to the power minus 10 stat Coulomb. Rearrange the expression, then 1 Coulomb equal to 4.8 into 10 to the power minus 10 divided by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So when you solve it, you will get 3 into 10 to the power 9 stat Coulomb. So 1 Coulomb is equal to 3 into 10 to the power 9 stat Coulomb. So this is the relation between Coulomb and stat Coulomb. Now another topic, forces between multiple charges or superposition principle. So first you understand the meaning of superposition principle. According to this principle, force on any given charge due to a number of other charges which are present around it is always equal to the vector sum of all the forces on that given charge due to the other charges taken one at a time. The individual forces remains unaffected due to the presence of other charges. It means individual charges, they will exert the force on a given point charge, but they will not exert any force on each other. So mathematically we can say that, suppose we take a given charge Q1, around it charges are Q1, Q2, Q3 Qn. Then the total force on this charge Q1 can be written as mathematically F1 vector equal to F12 vector plus F13 vector plus so on F1n vector. Now further we find out the expression. So for that purpose we consider the charges Q1, Q2, Q3 so on Qn and located in vacuum at points whose position vectors with respect to the origin O are R1 vector, R2 vector, R3 vector and so on Rn vector. Then the total force on the charge Q1 due to the other charges F1 vector equal to F12 vector, that is the force exerted by charge Q2 on charge Q1 plus F13 vector, that is the force exerted on charge Q1 due to Q3 and so on F1n vector. See here what we say, that we are taking the given charge Q1, place at point P and other charges are Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5 like that. Then according to the superposition principle, Q2 will exert the force on Q1. Similarly, Q3 will exert the force on Q1 and Q4 on Q1, Q5 on Q1. So see here, when the charge Q1 is placed here and all other charges when they are exerting the force on the charge q1, then total force acting on the given charge q1 becomes F1 vector equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 upon r21 square and r21 cap. R21 cap is the direction of force. Similarly, when q3 exert the force on q1, that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q3 upon r31 square r31 cap. So here the direction is represented by r31 cap. Similarly, the other charges also exert their force on charge q1, and we say that now n charge that exert the force on q1, 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 qn rn1 square rn1 cap, that is direction. See, in this expression q1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught is common. So you take outside it, then the expression becomes F1 vector equal to q1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught within bracket q2 upon r21 square r21 cap plus q3 upon r31 square r31 cap and so on qn upon rn1 square rn1 cap. If you want to write in the form of the summation, then this F1 vector equal to q1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught and sigma I equal to 1 and I equal to n, qi upon ri1 square ri1 cap. So when you substitute the value of the I equal to 1, 2, 3, then you will get the same expression which is here. That is the superposition principle. Now another topic is continuous charge distribution. Basically, the continuous charge distribution is a system of closely spaced charges is known as continuous charge distribution. Its simply meaning is that the discrete charges are distributed in continuous manner, and it is divided in three categories. One is linear charge distribution, second one is surface charge distribution, third one is volume charge distribution. So one by one I explain you. The first one is linear charge distribution. So it is defined as the charge is distributed uniformly over to a line. It is represented by lambda, and this lambda is called linear charge density, that is charge per unit length, and its SI unit is coulomb per meter. And mathematically we write lambda equal to q upon L or lambda equal to dq upon dl. Now due to this linear charge distribution, we will find out the force acting on a test charge, that is q naught. So for that purpose we consider a very thin conductor of length L with uniform positive linear charge density lambda, that is the charge is uniformly distributed over to a line of length L. And from here we know that dq equal to lambda dl. dl is a small length element, and in this length element a small charge is dq. So first we will calculate the force on q naught due to this small charge dq over to the length element dl. Apply the Coulomb's law, then dfl vector equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q naught dq upon r square r cap. This is the force on test charge q naught due to the small charge dq. But dq equal to lambda dl, substitute this value in place of dq, then this expression becomes dfl vector equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q naught lambda dl upon r square r cap. This L basically representing linear charge distribution, that is the force because of the linear charge distribution. Now the total force we calculate on test charge due to the entire linear charge distribution. So for that purpose we integrate this expression. So integral, that integral is known as line integral. So line integral dfl vector equal to q naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught line integral lambda dl upon r square and r cap. And that expression can also be written as fl vector equal to q naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught line integral lambda dl upon r square r cap. So this is the total force acting on test charge due to entire linear charge distribution. Similarly, we define surface charge distribution. So in linear charge distribution, the charge is distributed linearly over to a line, and here charge is distributed uniformly over to a surface, and that is known as surface charge distribution, and it is represented by sigma, and sigma is called surface charge density, that is charge per unit area, and its SI unit is coulomb per meter square. Mathematically we can write sigma equal to q upon s or sigma equal to dq upon ds. Now here we take a surface, and over to this surface the charge is uniformly distributed having the surface charge density sigma, and a small area element we take ds over to which the small charge dq. Now we find force on this test charge due to this small charge. Then again the force on test charge q naught due to small charge dq, dfs vector equal to, here s for surface charge distribution, 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q naught dq upon r square r cap. But here dq equal to sigma ds. Now substitute this value here in place of dq, then you will get dfs vector equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q naught sigma ds upon r square r cap. Now we will find out the total force on q naught, that is test charge due to the entire surface charge distribution. Then what we do? We integrate it. So here this integration is called surface integral. The surface integral dfs vector equal to q naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught surface integral sigma ds upon r square r cap. Or we can write fs vector equal to q naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught surface integral sigma ds upon r square r cap. Then this expression is the total force acting on the test charge due to entire surface charge distribution. Now similarly we explain volume charge distribution. So volume charge distribution is the distribution of the charge uniformly over to a volume, and it is represented by rho, and this rho is called volume charge density, that is charge per unit volume, and its SI unit is coulomb per meter cube. Mathematically we can say that rho equal to Q upon V or rho equal to dQ upon dV. Again, as in the previous two cases, we will find out the force on test charge Q naught due to the volume charge distribution. So this is, we have taken one Q. Here the positive charge is uniformly distributed over to the volume. Take a small volume element dV and in it the charge is dQ. So we will find out the force on Q naught due to the small charge dQ. So that is dFV vector equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught dQ upon R square R cap. But dQ equal to rho dV. So substitute this value in place of this dQ. Then you will get the expression dFV vector equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q naught rho dV upon R square R cap. Now we will find out total force on the test charge Q naught due to entire volume charge distribution. So we integrate it. So when you integrate it, then this integration is called volume integral. So volume integral dV vector equal to Q naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught volume integral rho dV upon R square R cap. And this expression can be written as FV vector equal to Q naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught volume integral rho dV upon R square R cap. So this is the total force acting on test charge Q naught due to the entire volume charge distribution. So if you like my video, please like, subscribe and press the bell icon. Thank you. Have a nice day.